Are you serious? Are you serious, folks? It is crazy, crazy times. So when you're in this kind of unbelievable shifting in markets and in cryptocurrencies and precious metals, you need to go get an expert. So guess what? We have Charles from Noble Gold with us today. Charles, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
All right, Charles. Now, Bitcoin, last 3 days having a bad fall. Looks like almost 50% of its value, while the stock market is going to finish at an all-time high today unless something crazy happens right before the closing of the bell. And gold, silver, and platinum is holding fairly steady. Gold's a little down today, but not bad. So give us we got to ask you the question, Charles. How in the world can Bitcoin fall like this while the stock market rises? Can you help us understand it?
Yes, it really comes down to two things. January and February, if you look at the cryptocurrencies in a broad prospect, it tends to be slower months for them. Every market has a cycle, but more importantly, this is directly related to Wall Street getting involved in cryptocurrencies. In December, they were allowed to start trading options on cryptocurrencies on the Chicago Board of Exchange. What that gave them and what they do best is it allowed them to plow lots of money into a market where they didn't have to hold the coins and they can be in leveraged positions. And now we're getting to see what Wall Street does, the games that they play. Wall Street needs all-time highs. They have to justify how great they're saying everything is. So okay, that's a big issue with it.
All right, I got to ask a question, because who made the decision, or who had the power to make the decision to put cryptocurrency on to trade on the big board? I mean, cryptocurrency, the people who are running it had to have made that decision to agree to this, right?
No, not really. The Chicago Board of Exchange decides what's allowed to be changed, to be traded. They make that decision.
Really? So,
yes.
So cryptocurrencies had nothing to do with this.
No.
They couldn't control. They couldn't stop them, and so they took their currency, put it up on the big board, and said, "Look, you can buy and sell Bitcoin if you'd like." And the market itself fluctuates on its own based on the. It's a free market enterprise. I mean, it's a free enterprise capitalism. So markets are going to shift, and if the Wall Street wants to participate, then they can. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and I'm going to take it a step further. The biggest thing Wall Street had working against it was the phenomenal rise of the cryptocurrencies. It posed a real threat.
Wow.
You know, it's something outside the banking system. If you can name me a brokerage firm that's not tiered to a major bank, I'd be surprised. I can think of two, Scottrade and Charles Schwab. Every other one of them is owned by a bank. Every one.
So the banking industry, the central bankers had no control over cryptocurrencies, and they had to, this was the best thing that ever happened for them, is to get cryptocurrencies up on the board, so that in some ways they can manipulate a little bit. Does this also mean the IRS is going to participate now with profitability or loss with cryptocurrencies?
Well, you know, the IRS has always been involved. The IRS says if you make money on something, you have to report and pay your taxes.
Right.
That's always been there. So it's really no different for the IRS. They do what they do best. They rake money in.
Yeah, and so in other words, they can watch it now they've been watching the values of cryptocurrencies. They know, and so when people sell off their cryptocurrency for US dollars and put it in their bank or whatever, that's being recorded, and whether they're making money or losing, that's up to the individual when they fill out their taxes, whether they're a corporation or a sole proprietor or whatever. So you're saying this deal is really all about the central bankers are the winners here, especially if they can beat down cryptocurrencies.
Absolutely, and it was all about that. You know, when cryptocurrencies were Bitcoin was $2,000, $3,000 a coin. They didn't care about it. In fact, they had people coming out saying, "Oh, it's a sham. It's a bubble.
Right.
It's garbage. It's not real." When it got to 19,000, something had to be done.
So they decided to bring it in, put it on the board, and in 3 days, folks, Bitcoin has fallen to, right now, I think it's $10,499. At least that was 20 minutes ago. Gold is at $1,330 an ounce. That's fluctuating until the market closes. Silver's was around $17 an ounce. Platinum was at $1,004 an ounce. And the stock market looks like is going to finish up over 26,000.
Correct. Interesting thing, when you look at gold and silver, gold is up 14% over last year. That's a great return.
Wow, that is a great return. Yeah, that is.
And here's the thing about it that most people don't remember because they didn't dig so deep. You may be saying, why is Wall Street so worried about this and worried about that? And I'll tell you why. Because Wall Street has to give the impression things are good. We live on Main Street. We have a different reality. I know there's a tax plan. Things are going to change, but this all takes time. And it starts with corporations and, more importantly, small businesses being able to employ people. Because if you look at what's happening on Wall Street, I know we chatted a little bit, 5,000 retail stores were closed last year.
Wow.
5,000.
Wow. And I think, and also 103 Sears stores just announced they're closing, and 63 Sam's Club stores closed without even giving anybody a notice.
Just no notice. The employees went up to the door and knocked. They were out.
Customers were in the parking lot with their little card that said they can come shop. It's over.
And they paid for that card.
So, and I don't know I don't know what that does for the vendors. I don't know if they get left twisting in the wind.
Well, they get left with merchandise that either has to be accepted in return, or they take that loss.
So this is incredible. Why in the world? I mean, look, this is a serious problem. If 5,000 retail stores close in the big boxes, and here they are, they're continuing. Well, there's two things going on, isn't it true, Charles? I don't think the market's dying because retail, the Christmas season, retail broke all-time records. Online sales were off the charts. So is it that the retail, the brick and mortar stores are going away and it's being overtaken by the online sales?
I think it's a very vicious circle. The last time we saw this amount of closures was in 2008.
Yeah.
We just beat out 2008. 2017 had more retail closures than 2008. The big difference is the stock market. Somehow, Wall Street has convinced us that things are still strong. And we have this Dow at all-time highs. But Main Street is telling us the same thing that was happening in 2007 and 2008. So that cycle really is everyone who lost their jobs in 2007 and 2008, they didn't get full-time jobs.
No.
They got jobs to get by.
Yeah.
And you know what that means? Less people buying goods.
Right.
And this is what closes retail stores.
So I'm looking at this, and I remember very well the 2007, 2008. I was working in I was running a manufacturing plant that provided products for all the big stores. Mm-hmm. And we seen it coming in 2005, 2006. Sales of our products just started tanking. And we began to realize that something was wrong in retail. But there was no online sales then, Charles.
Right.
Okay. So 2007, 2008, we have this major fall in revenue, and all of a sudden, plants are closing everywhere. A million people a month are losing their job. We get and the housing industry falls apart, and it gets ugly. Okay, we know that. Now here we are now. Okay, stock market's roaring. Precious metals are strong. Retail sales broke all-time records. If you combine online sales and retail, all-time records. Okay, so retail's closing, but that's the brick and mortar stores. But online is still roaring. So I guess my question would be, the way I see it is this: if that trend continues, the retail locations slowly dwindle, but the online sales continue to roar. That's okay, except if you're owning the buildings and you're renting to these people. Now nobody's paying the rent. That's going to affect the retail markets. I'm talking property markets. Am I right?
Absolutely. But it's also going to affect all the stores that service around those stores.
Wow, that has a huge. That's a huge.
Gone.
That's a huge effect, because around the shopping malls, you got all the little restaurants and all the little gift shops and all the other little people around, and fast food and the gas stations. And to your point, if people don't travel to go shop, all the extra smaller retail outlets, including restaurants, suffer, and that does have that has a major effect on economy.
Absolutely. And it's jobs that are lost.
Yeah.
Not that many people work on the online environment. Amazon, they employ people, but they don't employ enough to make up for the loss of all those retail stores. There's so many jobs that will be just disappear.
So do you see it?
That's what you need. You need jobs. Taxes are nice. Unless you don't have an income, then a decrease in your taxes don't help you.
No, it don't help you. It's too bad it wasn't It should have been retroactive. Yeah, that would have been huge. That would have been really huge, and that would have really made a difference for so many people.
Stores.
Yeah. So give us your look out in the future now. Look at take a look. Put on your expertise hat here, Charles. What do you tell the folks out there listening? Do they jump in the stock market, which seems to be roaring? Do they go ahead and stay with cryptocurrencies that just took a big bite? Or do they hang with precious metals that seem to be steady?
And that's a great question. Everyone has a different answer. But my best solution is diversify. If you're sitting with your retirement completely in the stock market, you need to protect yourself. Diversify those funds.
What do you think it should be? Okay, let's just say the average person out there listening, watching this video, it's a nurse. There's a carpenter out there. Let's see. We've got a banker out there. We've got people from all walks of life working 9 to 5. Got the 401k. And I guarantee you, if they got a 401k, I guarantee you 90% or more of it is in the stock market. I guarantee it right now. So what is your recommendation to them over the next 2 years? What should they do?
I'm going to break it down into a different subsect, because it doesn't matter whether you're a nurse or a carpenter or if you work at the local Dairy Queen. You want to protect yourself. The most important thing you have is your aversion to risk. How close are you to retiring with those funds? That's the most important thing, because those of us who are at the further end of that retirement scale, we want security. We can't afford another 2007 and 2008. We can't say, I'm going to work for another 10 years because my whole portfolio was cut in half. So if you say to yourself that I'm not willing or not young enough to take this risk and let the market come down in half again and hope that I have enough time to regain it, then get diversified. Get precious metals. Get that stability.
So what, about 25%, 30%?
25, 30%. Some of my clients will call and even though I tell them 20, 25, 30%, they want more because they are convinced that this downturn is going to come.
They don't trust it. They don't trust the stock market. They would rather put more of their 401k equity into the precious metals and strengthen it that way.
It's like walking past the neighbor's house as a kid, and there was that one dog that always bit you. Sooner or later, you quit putting your hand near the fence because you know it was coming. Once bitten, twice shy. So you have people who went through 2007, and they say, I can't do it again. I don't have that time in my investment cycle to recoup that. So they go a little heavier.
All right, now, Charles. Folks, this is Charles from Noble Gold. Charles from Noble Gold. Great guy. You can call him. You can see his, we got his website right there. We keep showing you his website. You can call him. If you go to his website, get his phone number there. You can call him at any time, talk to him. He'll help you understand. If you're saying, yeah, I've been working for 20 years. I've got my 401k. I don't know what in the world. Should I leave it in the stock market? It's going crazy. No doubt, if you've been working a while and you had a 401k, no doubt it's climbed here in the last under Donald Trump. You've had an unbelievable ride. The question is, do you think it's going to stay there, or should you maybe take some of that and spread it out into precious metals, and maybe that way, if the market goes down, you're okay? I mean, that's a question. But let me just say quickly to all of you, you got to trust in the Lord. And Charles is a devout Christian and a sponsor of our broadcast and of our ministry, and a great guy. And he'd tell you, you put your faith in the Lord, you do the things you're supposed to do, be faithful to your giving, and be faithful to the work of the Lord, and trust him. He'll help you. The Lord will literally help you, tell you it's time to make a move. Now, you need an expert. If you're feeling bad, the Lord will say, look, you're feeling bad, you might want to go see a doctor. In this case, you're not sure where to go, find the expert. Charles, a Christian man, is the guy I highly recommend to help you in your decision process. So can I ask, I'm looking right now, Charles, there's people we got over 500 people live with us, okay? And they're making comments. If any of you out there watch right now, and they're making very positive, educated comments, if any of you have a question for Charles, just put it in the chat and I'll ask him, all right? So they can do that. Charles, do you see gold in the next 24 months? Do you see gold or silver? Silver looks like it's got some room to grow. I mean, do you see those climbing again?
I do. I think, a couple things we look at when we look at precious metals, we have to look at debt. The United States still is carrying a lot of debt, and the world debt just climbed to $190 trillion. That's world debt now. That has to be accounted for.
Wow.
We're stepping into a scenario where inflation is starting to pick up. We're seeing it in the CPI number. So we're going to have to raise interest rates. The problem we have with that is we're still sitting, when I say we, I say the Federal Reserve is still sitting on that $4.5 trillion that they purchased in bad debt from the last incident 10 years ago. They still have that. So there's not a lot of room for them to do that again. If we see interest rates take off and we see the stock market come down, which we think is going to happen. So there's not enough room there. So when we look at this, we say, okay, the way you protect that is with precious metals. And the world knows that. And this is why we're seeing a 14% return year over year. That's a pretty impressive thing. And I think looking forward, as debt comes through, I think you could see another 15, 16% return on the precious metals this year.
We got a question right here. One guy, let me see, who is it? Dynatar says, I got a question for Charles. I've got 20% of my 401k funds in a metals basket. Is this good?
20% in a metals basket. That's good if that's your only option. And I say that, Dynator, is the best thing to have is physical metals. You're not paying fees on it like you do to manage your basket. Anytime you have a basket and it's being held in electronic funds, you have an account manager who's getting paid every month. Okay? If it's the only option you have, great. Take advantage of it. Is it the best solution? No. Physical metals will always be better because there's no one managing it. You're not paying that extra.
So if people call you and they said, hey, okay, then I'd like to take 25% of my 401k and I'd like to purchase physical metals from you, they can get it through you and you can have it put in a secured vault. I take it, safety deposit box vault.
Yeah, we would actually have it stored in a depository. I always like to bring this up when I get the chance. So, we're the only company that has a depository in the state of Texas.
Oh, really?
The only one authorized to hold IRA metals.
So you can hold it for the customer down there in Texas, the Lone Star State, and you guys got more than just a vault. You guys got shotguns and everything else out there. So
you got plenty there. Trust me. And what we don't have, the people around it have.
Right. So what do you see with the U.S. dollar? I mean, is the U.S. dollar going to go up, go down? What does it do? I mean, the Trump tax plan is going to help the economy, although the market may be trending.
It's not going to help the dollar, though.
Yeah,
that's the big issue.
Yeah. What do you see happening with the dollar?
Well, the dollar has had this hegemony in the world for so long, but we're losing that. As the world leaves the petrodollar scenario, the Middle East has started selling oil to anyone for almost any currency that they have. It used to be you had to have the U.S. dollar. That was how we got off the gold standard. In 1973, President Nixon did that. We look at it now and say it was horrible, but it was his best option then. So I'm not going to give him grief for that. He found a way to get us off the gold standard, create the inflation he needed while still securing the strength of the dollar. But that was in 1973. It's 2018. Things have changed. You have China getting ready to release the yuan that's backed by gold. So not only will they have the manufacturing plant, not only will they have the technology, they're also going to have a currency that's going to be preferred by those people who produce.
Yeah, because we used to have the dollar on the gold standard, and we went off of that. Now it's a fiat, it's monopoly money, and you had all this quantum easing going on by the central bankers. You're saying China is going to base their currency on gold, where the United States is basing their currency on which way the wind's blowing. Yeah, that's not good. So we're back to the simple question, and there's people saying, so if I go to precious metals, where does my gold and silver get stored? And you've answered that question. Again, call Charles at Noble Gold, and you can do it through his company, and it is physically stored, folks, down there in Texas.
Not just that, we'll help you do all the paperwork. I have a team here that's second to none. We're going to make the process easy for you. Once your metals are stored, we're actually going to take a picture of them for you. We're going to send you a picture of your metals that are being stored for you.
And if people want to have their own metal, they can. Am I right? They can actually, Absolutely. If they don't want somebody else storing it, if they don't want you storing it, they want it in their own hands, it can be shipped to them, right?
If it's not in an IRA, absolutely. If it's in the IRA, you got to be careful. If you do that, that's considered a distribution. It's a taxable event.
I see. As long as you leave it, if you buy the gold or silver, leave it in the depository, they're protected, then it's still not, they don't have to pay taxes on it yet until they get 59.5 and they start to pull it out, right?
Correct.
Folks, this is Charles Noble Gold. You can see his Charles Noble Gold. He does a great job in helping people understand. And these are really difficult times. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't even know how people comprehend. Charles, honestly, cryptocurrency's not feeling good right now. Can I just be honest with you? Can I tell you, I hear from people all the time, and they're just not feeling, I don't know. They just don't feel good about it. Am I right here, or should we stay away from it?
Here's what I would say. Again, diversity is important. If you've done your work and you've got yourself protected, you've got safe assets, you've got safe haven assets, there's nothing wrong with some cryptocurrencies. If you look at cryptocurrencies, yeah, we're down 50% now, but you know what? It's not the first time that it's happened.
No. Well, are you saying maybe 10%? Maybe it's okay to use 5 or 10% of what you have in your 401k and put it in a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, or what about BitThumb? Is there any other currencies besides Bitcoin that might be something to look at?
When I look at those, there's a couple things that I look at. I look at their market cap. How big is the entire vehicle of that cryptocurrency? There's new ones coming out every day, and you don't want to mess with that. It's like that old saying, you don't buy a car the first year they make it. You wait. No. You let the bugs get out. So you go with your bigger names. You go with your Bitcoins. You go with your Ethereums. You go with your Litecoin. They all have a track record. They have real money behind them. So, yeah, you take a portion, you put it in that. And if it's down 50%, I got to tell you, just like my wife tells me, I had to buy it. It's on sale.
I'm not going there. You're not going to trap me into that one. Oh, man. Folks, Charles is here from Noble Gold, and he's got the answers for you. Let me just tell you some quick information. Bitcoin, folks, is down 50% the last 3 days. It's right now at $10,499. Gold is right around $1,330 an ounce. Silver's trading at about $17 an ounce. Platinum about $1,004 an ounce. The stock market just closed at 26,115, all-time high today. Good day to have Charles from Noble Gold on here to help us understand it. And don't get too high and don't get too low. Isn't that kind of still the old adage?
My grandfather always told me, you never get hurt taking a profit. So I adhere to that. The interesting thing about that Dow Jones, it's almost twice as high as it was when it started to correct in 2007.
So that's insane. So is it possible? Listen, tomorrow I'm going to be interviewing Bob at Trade Genius Academy, and he's a big Bitcoin guy, and so
Bob.
Yeah,
Bob, I said hi.
Great, I'll tell him, and he's going to probably say to me, Paul, take a look at it. It was 13,000. The stock market was 10 years ago. Now it's 26. Look at Bitcoin right now. Ask yourself where it's going to be in 10 years. I'm telling you, Paul, it's going to 45,000. Just relax. Take a deep breath. I mean, the only thing I have to ask you about that, Charles, is because it can be manipulated by the big boys there at the stock market, it's in their best interest to keep it kind of down. Am I right?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Here's what the big boys love more than anything, a profit. Okay? So they've driven it down. It's down by half. And typically when you see institutions start to trade, they'll write an issue down, and then they'll cover their short that they had against it, or their put position if you're dealing in options, and then they'll buy the calls or they'll go long, and then they'll ride the wave back up. So they're making money both ways.
Wow.
So that's typically what you see.
So
and that's what Bob's going to tell you too.
We'll find out tomorrow with him. And so tell them a little bit about you, Charles, and how long you've been in this. This is your business, and how long you've been doing it. And I know you're a Christian, and I know you're an honest man, and that's so important. And so give them a little bit of your background.
The Christian aspect is the most important thing that I can say, because above all else, that's what counts. I've been in finance for 25 years. When I first started, I was a stockbroker, and was very familiar. I had my own firm at one point. I had a major investment firm actually buy out my investment company that I created. I got out of the investment world because not many people know this, but I have 3 children, and my oldest daughter, the middle child, was born with multiple disabilities. So that took my wife and I's time. I didn't have the 18 hours a day to devote to a business like that. So that was our priority. So I took a minor role. So I got rid of the company. I stayed in finance, but I did it as an employee as opposed to an owner. A lot more time that way.
Right.
And then we saw the changes in the industry, and I said, you know what? We've got to have diversity. The debt is just ridiculous. So in 1992, I started diverting a lot of my clients into holding some form of precious metals, even though I was still a broker.
Right.
So by 1998, I couldn't refocus my energies more than just in the metals, because it's what made sense. The debt was racking up. We had a lot of serious issues. And so that's where the transition began. And I left the brokerage industry altogether and focused just on the metals. And that brings us to where we are today.
That's a great testimony. The fact that you had a very successful brokerage firm, but because of your daughter's condition, you made the life-changing decision to sell off a very successful brokerage firm to spend more time with the family, even though it would probably mean the income you're making went down. It was more important to readjust the focus. And then from there, the Lord led you into the path of, hey, now that we've got things settled at home and you're home now, why don't you now start to diversify not only your business plan, but your time? You were doing both. And the Lord's blessed you for that, Charles. That's wonderful.
Absolutely. Anytime there's a problem, if you bend the knee, God will give you an answer.
Wow, folks, I can't see. And look, that's it. Bend the knee. Call on the name of the Lord. Let him give you the direct answer. And if you need some help with that, always feel free to call Charles at Noble Gold. Charles, great interview. You know what? It really touched my heart. It helps me to know that you're the right guy to be out there to talk to people about their retirement needs. And so great to have you on.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Amen.